Good afternoon, everyone. I'll say it again. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gianni Morcell. I am a junior at Morgan State University studying political science, and I am here to introduce our keynote speaker. Our keynote speaker's name is Vanessa Griddine-Jones. She is the executive director of the Congressional Black Caucus Institute. Ms. Jones has served on the staff of many prominent congresswomen. She was the first African-American woman to act as a senior advisor to a European parliamentary organization. She promoted diplomacy and encouraged free and fair elections within developing democracies. She has also worked with South Carolina and Texas legislatures. Ms. Jones holds her JD from Southern University Law Center and an international law LL.M from the University of Houston Law Center. We are excited to have Ms. Jones to speak to us prospective law students. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Ms. Vanessa Jones.
Good evening. I am so impressed with the fact that you all knew all the words to the Black National Anthem. In days past, when you were part of any black organization, they would make you sing that song, and I just didn't think that anybody sang it anymore, so it was really a special moment to be here to witness that with you all. I'm excited to be here with so many aspiring attorneys, but I'm doubly excited to be here to speak before two of the law school deans that were instrumental in my journey to JD. Dean Purnell from Florida A&M College of Law and Chancellor John Pierre from Southern University Law Center. Let me also thank Evangeline Mitchell, the founder and executive director for the HBCU Pre-Law Summit. And thank you, Evangeline, if you're in the room, for your foresight in recognizing the need to have such a conference. This puts a little bit of pressure on me. And the first thing that you will lose when you go to law school is your eyesight. So I can't see y'all and look at it at the same time, so I will probably make the adjustment with my glasses several times. Evangeline asked me to share a bit of my journey to law school. And although she didn't know what that was, I shared this about a month ago with some students, and they said it inspired them. So I decided I would share my story with you today. But before I get started, my boss did tell me before I told him I was coming here, he says, Vanessa, remember that the head can only comprehend what the behind can withstand, so this will be short. For most of us, your law school journey will begin with someone telling you, whether it's your teacher, a loved one, a professor, you're so smart, you should be a lawyer. You love reading, you should be a lawyer. And my all-time favorite, you love to argue, you should be a lawyer. Well, let me tell you, none of these are good reasons for you to ever embark upon this journey. They will no doubt be helpful tools for you along the way, but the journey to your JD is a long and arduous task filled with highlights and lowlights, endless hours of studying, briefing, stressing, crying, praying. Yes, there is still prayer in school. You will seek, find, and commune with whatever supreme being that you worship, and you will have that relationship with him more than you have ever had in your entire life. But no doubt, this is a journey worth taking. I believe that the journey to your law degree is like that of a calling for ministers. And although there are academically inspired and trained attorneys, I believe truly great lawyers are those who have been called to do so. And although all of you in this room are bright, brilliant minds, ready to right the wrongs, fight injustice, protect liberty and life, and make lots of money, who you are and who you will become is largely who you've always been. You will see along this journey that unless some catastrophic event has happened in your life to alter your being, you're the same person you were as a child. And no doubt, most of you have believed since you were a child that you were going to go to law school. As a child, I was very meticulous, type A personality. My mother is in the back, she's a witness to this. At 9, I convinced her to turn our hall closet into an office because I had things I needed to display on the walls, my awards, my accomplishments. I had files that I needed to go through to make sure that I was on task for what I needed to do as a 9-year-old in 3rd grade. Had to get to the 4th grade and make sure that I did everything to be the perfect lawyer when I finally got there. As a good mother, she acquiesced and gave me the space. And at least twice a week, I'd go into my office to review what I needed to accomplish in the next year, what awards I needed to receive, how many books and what books I should read, who I was going to marry, where I was going to college, how many kids I was going to have and their names. As a child, I was hyper-focused on my wants, my needs, and my goals, and knew with certainty that a plan had to be made in order to accomplish it all. There were no chance meetings in my life, no fortuitous engagement throughout my personal or professional life. All were well-orchestrated plans. But put a note in that because this is the setup. So my journey to law school was no different. I had been planning this since I was 9 in my office. I'm going to go to undergrad, going to major in political science and English, I'm going to graduate early, go to law school, get married to another law student, have 2.5 kids. I don't know how you have half a child, but they always say that. Move to the suburbs, and become a power couple and appear in Jet. Y'all probably don't even know what Jet is anymore. But there was a magazine that every couple wanted to have their picture in once they got married. But that plan was interrupted with politics, radicalism, love, marriage, and divorce, all before my junior year of college. But I ended up in D.C., working on foreign policy as the first African American to advise the president of a European Parliamentary Assembly. I traveled to 33 countries, met heads of state, wrote speeches that were delivered before dignitaries, and monitored and negotiated documents to determine if post-Soviet states met the international standard for free and fair elections. I had witnessed democracy building in its infancy for these countries and had been instrumental in their journeys. It was a good life. Only problem is that yearning inside of me to go to law school never went anywhere. So despite my accomplishments, there was still something that I felt that I needed to do. So I gave it all up and moved to Orlando, Florida, and began to study law at Florida A&M College of Law. I had attended a predominantly white institution for undergrad, so I was determined because I had FOMO of listening to all my friends that I had to go to an HBCU law school. So hopefully most of you have seen A Different World because this is my image of a HBCU, and if you haven't, it's in syndication. And so I was impressed by the relationships that were portrayed between the professors and the students there, and they were none like what I had experienced at the institution that I had attended. I wanted to go somewhere that was a nurturing environment where I knew the people looked like me, and they were vested in my success and wanted to pour into me. But at Florida A&M College of Law, I was caught up in the fantasy of law school, not the reality of law school. I liked saying that I was in law school, but I didn't like being a law student. That took away too much of my personal time and my personal life. And law school is a weeding out process. On your first day of school, they tell you to look to your left, look to your right, and that person will not be there next semester. But in my hubris, I assume it's one of these two people that won't be here. But what I failed to realize in that moment is while I'm looking to my left and right, I am to the left and right of someone as well. And that person was me. I was devastated when I received my letter that you have been academically dismissed. There were so many people that I felt that I had let down. And does this mean that I'm not as smart as I think I am? As smart as I've been told that I am? As smart as academic assessments have said that I am? Am I actually of average intelligence? Or even worse, am I mediocre? And I'm like, no, not me. Something is clearly wrong here. But many of my classmates fought their way back in, but I returned home to South Carolina to my mother for comfort. Head bowed, body bent, broken, and embarrassed, but determined to somehow recover. I literally wanted to die. I thought the world had come to an end and there was nothing else I was ever going to be able to do and recover from this moment. So after 6 months of crying and laying in the bed, my mother finally said to me, "Could you please, child, get up and do something?" But what do? I haven't made a plan and contemplated failure. How do you recover from that? But I did. I returned to D.C., way off the grid, and worked for a small law firm. But this only heightened my depression because now I am the only black person in a law firm that's not a lawyer. And in D.C., every third person has a law degree and is a lawyer. So I'm surrounded by all these people, and I'm truly believing these people aren't that bright. So clearly, there's something else to law school other than intelligence, grades, and LSAT scores. So nearly 3 years later, I mustered up the courage to embark on this journey again. Equipped with all the heartbreak and the wisdom of setbacks, and all the reality checkers telling me, you do know, no one ever gets a second chance at law school. So on the absolute worst day of the year, known to everybody in the DC area as Snowmageddon, the February LSAT was scheduled. As always, I said, I have a plan. I'm going to take the LSAT at Georgetown, so I decided to check into a hotel the night before. I said, surely, worst case scenario, I'm close enough to drive or take a taxi. So I'm listening to the news, and all night they're talking about there's 38 inches of snow outside. I'm like, there's not 38 inches of snow. They're just over-exaggerating. But I began to call law school services to find out if they were going to cancel the exam. I called until 3 a.m. Everywhere on the Eastern Seaboard canceled the exam except Georgetown University. So I have to go. So I decided to get up early that morning. I said, I'll drive. It'll take a long time, but I'll eventually get there. I pulled out of the garage. I slid back down the hill. I pulled up the hill again. I slid back down. After I did this 3 times, I said, time to implement Plan B. Plan B was to call a taxi. I called, the hotel front desk called for hours. Finally, someone picked up the phone and said, there's a blizzard outside. We're not driving anywhere. I said, okay, I can walk. It's not that big of a deal. It's a couple of blocks. Didn't think that through well. I stepped out on the curb and could not see anything from my knee down anymore. And as I tried to move forward, I simply couldn't. So I turned back, went to the hotel lobby, and sat there weeping loudly and dramatically. Then the Fox News crew walked through the lobby, and they said, why are you crying? And I said, because God has forsaken me. And clearly he doesn't have the same plan for my life that I thought he had. And I need to get to Georgetown to take the LSAT. He said, we can take you to Georgetown. And they did. So we get there, and I'm there with all the other people who have no doubt walked or skied across the Key Bridge. I'm not joking. They actually had on skis. So these people wanted to fulfill their dream just as much as I did. But we're now wet, cold, tired, and discouraged. But I began to understand that God wanted to test me to see if I was really ready and committed to do this. Because after all, I had already been to law school on the easy path and didn't take full advantage of that opportunity. So in the fall of 2011, nearly 17 years after my intended entry into law school, I entered Southern University Law Center. Southern was a part of the genesis of the HBCU law schools in the South. See, because long before my struggles and my triumphs and my hopes and dreams, Charles Hatfield had a dream of going to LSU Law School. But he was denied that opportunity because he was a black man, and thus gave birth to Southern University Law Center. Before my hopes, aspirations, and dreams, Herman Sweat had a dream of going to the University of Texas Law School. That gave birth to Thurgood Marshall. And before anybody decided they wanted to go to the University of North Carolina Law School, legislation created North Carolina Central Law School for them. See, these individuals were not deterred, they were determined. And unlike my dream that was deferred, theirs was denied. But what I learned from my experiences and what I learned from being at Southern University, where our motto was seriousness of purpose, was that the best lawyers and best law students are those who are determined, focused, and persistent. Those who are serious about their purpose. And I learned that what's for me is for me, and nothing can stop that. So I leave you with the quote that I used at the beginning of my personal essay. Nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is filled with educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. Ladies and gentlemen, please protect your dreams, plan your work and work your plan, and let nothing or no one deter you for your appointed rounds. Go out, live your passions, and I look forward to you joining this noble profession. I wish you all the best. Thank you.